My son bought his father-in-law a $90,000 truck. 3 days later, he stood in my trailer, looked me dead in the eye, and told me he couldn't spare $18 for my heart medicine. Let me say that again, because I need you to sit with it the way I had to. $90,000 for a man who never once changed a diaper. $18 for the father who worked himself to the bone so his son could have a life better than his own. I'm a simple man. 32 years on an assembly line building parts for farm equipment. Not glamorous, but honest. When Derek's mother walked out on us, he was 8, she left a note on the table and a hole in my chest that never fully closed. I raised him alone. 14-hour shifts, grease under my nails, coming home too tired to see straight, just to keep him in soccer cleats and school trips. When he graduated high school, I handed him an envelope with $4,000 in worn overtime bills. Don't waste it, I told him. Go be something. He did. He went to college, met a girl named Andrea from a family with real money, columns on the porch, a lawn that stayed green through drought. The first time I drove my beat-up pickup to their house, duct tape holding the mirror on, parked between a Mercedes and a BMW, I was so proud of him I could have burst. Her parents, Carol and Robert, were polite to me. Cold polite, the kind of polite that looks right through you. I could see it in their eyes when they looked at my calloused hands. This is where Derek came from. I told myself I was imagining it. Derek was building a life. He had a wife and then a daughter, Lily, the best thing that ever happened to me. I babysat every chance I got, bought her ice cream I couldn't afford, and her laugh made 3 decades of aching joints feel worth it. But the calls from Derek got shorter. The visits got rarer. He stopped asking about my health, my job, anything about me. It was always his promotion, his new car, his life. And Andrea's father, Robert, retired, connected, powerful, started pulling strings for Derek's career. Derek started calling him Dad. 35 years I'd earned that word. Watching him hand it to a man who'd never worked a day of manual labor in his life felt like a knife twisting slow. I never said a word. I smiled at the family dinners where I felt like a ghost at my own son's table. Then my heart started acting up. Not a heart attack, just a dull, constant warning that it was wearing out. The doctor put me on a daily medication, $18 a month, 60 cents a day. I'd applied for government assistance, but the paperwork was buried in bureaucracy, so until it came through, I was paying out of pocket on a pension that barely covered rent. I budgeted like a hawk. No air conditioning in the middle of summer, walked instead of drove. I was barely scraping by, until the week my pension check got delayed by some system glitch, and I was left with $23 to my name and a few pills left in the bottle. I called Derek. I hadn't asked him for a dime since he graduated. I was too proud for that, but this was my heart we were talking about. "Hey, Dad, what's up?" rushed, distracted. "I hate to ask," I said, "but my check's delayed and I need to refill my medication. It's only $18. I'll pay you back next week." The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Then he sighed like I'd asked him for a kidney. "Dad, I'm really sorry, but things are just so tight right now. The mortgage, the car payments, Lily's school, I don't have any spare cash." Spare cash, $18. I stood in my kitchen holding a phone with a cracked screen, staring at a stack of bills I couldn't pay, and I couldn't process what I was hearing. "It's for the medicine that keeps my heart working," I said, voice cracking. "I know, Dad, I get it, but I have to think about my family." My family, like I wasn't in it anymore. "Okay," I whispered, "I understand." And that was it. The click of the phone hitting the receiver echoed through my trailer like a gunshot. That night, I took a knife to my pills and cut them in half, figuring I'd stretch a week's supply into 2. My doctor had warned me never to do that. I didn't have a choice. 3 days later, scrolling Facebook on my ancient phone, I saw it, a photo of a massive midnight blue pickup truck, chrome trim, sitting in a driveway like it belonged in a showroom. The caption, a little surprise for the best father-in-law in the world. "Thank you, Derek, we love you." I did the math. $90,000. He'd told me he couldn't afford 18. It wasn't just anger. It was betrayal down to the bone, the kind that makes your own weakened heart hammer harder than it should. I didn't call him. I didn't text him. I just sat in the dark with the weight of it. I limped through the next few days on samples the pharmacist quietly slipped me out of pity. "Don't worry about it, Mr. Henderson," he said. You're a good man. My own son apparently disagreed. Then on a miserable, rain-soaked Thursday, there was a knock at my door. It was Robert, soaking wet, no umbrella, holding a manila envelope, looking like a man walking into a place he didn't belong. "Mr. Henderson," he said, "can I come in?" I let him sit at my small table, surrounded by unpaid bills and my empty pill bottle. He noticed the bottle. His face changed. "I know we haven't always seen eye to eye," he said, "but I have to tell you something." He explained that Derek and Andrea were drowning, credit card debt, a house they couldn't afford. Loans from him and Carol. The truck had been Derek's attempt to buy his approval. "I told him not to," Robert said, "but he insisted. Then yesterday I found out he'd been bragging to his friends about turning you down. He called it asterisk mooching. He laughed about it." My blood went cold. Robert slid a document across the table, the truck's real loan agreement, not 90,000. 130,000 at an interest rate designed to bury him. Derek had signed his life away trying to buy affection he already had. Then came the second gut punch. Andrea had told her parents that I'd secretly given Derek and her the down payment on their house from some inheritance, which was the reason, in their story, that I didn't need financial help. I had never given them a cent. I didn't have an inheritance. They had built an entire lie to explain away why the rich, stingy old man wouldn't help his son. Robert's eyes were glassy. "I never liked you much, Henderson. I thought you were holding him back. I was wrong. You're the man I should have been." Then he saw the pill bottle again, asked what it cost, and when I told him $18, his face went pale. He didn't say anything. He just pulled a thick stack of cash from the envelope and put it in my hands. "This isn't a gift," he said. "It's a down payment. Because I'm going to need your help making this right." Over the next hour, he laid it out. He was transferring the truck loan into his own name, eating the loss to keep Derek from drowning. And calling a lawyer. "I'm going to expose him," he said. "To Andrea, to Carol, to everyone. I need you standing next to me when I do it." I agreed. This wasn't about $18 anymore. It was about years of being erased by my own blood. A week later, in secret, Robert showed me the paperwork, the loan paid off and something else. Derek was cheating on Andrea with a coworker. The final piece, we called a family meeting. Derek smiled that same practiced, charming smile when he saw me. "Hey, Dad, what are you doing here?" "This is about you," Robert said, and laid it all out, the debt, the lies about the house, the affair. Andrea didn't scream. She just went still and asked if it was true. Derek tried to talk his way out of it, the way he always did. I looked him dead in the eye. "No, you don't get to call me that, not today. You had a chance to be my son, and you threw it away for a truck." Robert cut him off cold. "Pack a bag, Derek, you're out of the house." "Andrea's staying." I watched the terror on my son's face, and it wasn't about losing his wife or his daughter. It was about losing the money, the image, the escape from where he came from. In that moment, I saw him clearly, maybe for the first time. Not a victim of circumstance. A man who'd sold himself for a life he couldn't afford and pushed his own father aside because I reminded him of the truth. He stormed out. Robert put a hand on my shoulder. "He'll come crawling back when he's got nothing left." "I know," I said, "but I won't be there." Weeks passed. Derek lost his job when the affair and the debt came out. Andrea divorced him and got full custody of Lily. I started seeing my granddaughter every weekend. Andrea brought her over herself. My trailer stayed the same size, but now the fridge was full and there was a new television, courtesy of Robert, who'd started calling me his partner in setting things right. One evening, Derek showed up at my porch, unshaven, hollow-eyed. "You were right," he said. "I lost everything. Andrea took Lily. Robert hates me. I need you to forgive me." I thought about the boy who used to sit on my lap and tell me he wanted to grow up just like me. "I can't give you money," I told him. "I don't have any. But I can give you the same advice I gave you as a boy. Be honest, work hard, and never take the people who love you for granted." He dropped to his knees, begging. I stood, walked back inside, and closed the door. I didn't look back. The next day, a letter came from Robert. Inside was a photo, him, Andrea, Carol, and Lily on a boat, and behind them, not the $90,000 truck, but a plain, paid-off, used one. A note was attached. "We sold the big truck. This one does the job just fine. I used the leftover money to start a college fund for Lily, not a big one, but enough for her to learn the value of a dollar and a family." If you ever need a ride, I'm here. And if you ever want to see Lily, just call. You're her grandfather. You always will be. I read it 3 times, put it in my pocket, took my medicine, and sat on my porch as the sun went down. It's been a year now. Lily's in 2nd grade. She draws me pictures and calls me Pops. She doesn't know about the money, the lies, any of it. She just knows I'm her grandfather, and that's enough for her. Derek calls on Sundays now, working 2 jobs, slowly paying off what's left of the wreckage he made. He doesn't beg anymore. He just talks about the weather, about Lily, about nothing important, the way we used to before all of it. I let him talk. I let him apologize. I don't trust him yet. Maybe I never fully will. What I learned this year is that love was never supposed to be a transaction. But you still have to protect yourself, even from the people you raised with your own 2 hands. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do isn't holding a door open. It's closing it. My son bought his father-in-law a $90,000 truck, then told me he couldn't spare $18 for the medicine keeping my heart alive. That day taught me exactly what I was worth, and it turned out my value was never in the money I never had. It was in the door I could close, and the one I could open every single Sunday for my granddaughter. The real revenge was never making him suffer. It was surviving in my own trailer at peace, knowing I made it not because of him, but despite him. And that's worth more than any truck money could ever buy.